Hi, my name's Eric. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Halloween. Let's talk once again about Tori Amos. She just released her brand new album, Ocean to Ocean, and I'm here to give it my first reaction and to break down the album's lyrics. In case you're new here, I have been on a journey through Tori's discography, and so far I have gone in order from Little Earthquakes through Scarlet's Walk, so this album is going to break that chronology, but I've become pretty familiar with Tori's early work, which is why I wanted to mention my initial thoughts on the title of this album. When I hear Ocean to Ocean, my mind goes back to her song A Thousand Oceans, which, as some of you told me in the comments, is about the death of her father-in-law, and where she uses her recurring image of drowning as a metaphor for grief. And that connection to grief might explain why she's wearing that dramatic black dress on the cover of this album. But I might be getting ahead of myself, so let me know in the comments down below what your favorite song on Ocean to Ocean is. Check the description box for links to lists of nonprofits you can donate to. Please subscribe to be here when I post new videos, and hit the bell icon to be notified when my videos go live. Without further ado, track number 1 is Addition of Light Divided. This is really ethereal and eerie. I like it. Yes, wow, that really sounded like classic Tori. The sort of ethereal sound and ominousness reminded me a lot of a song like Precious Things. And with the title and the light-dark motif, I'm called back not only to A Thousand Oceans, where Tori talked about drowning in darkness as, again, a very straightforward metaphor for grief, but also to Scarlet's Walk, which I reacted to a few weeks ago, where she uses this idea of a continuum of light to represent our responsibility for each other. So just like the image on the title track of Scarlet's Walk, of red bleeding into purple, represented this sort of ripple effect that people have on each other and the responsibility for each other. Here she's saying that we can heal and we can experience the light by reuniting this spectrum, by embracing this idea that humanity as this diverse array of individuals is actually, again, a continuum. The song also immediately ties back to the title of the album, with Tori talking about drowning in aqua, so we have that immediate reference to this ocean image. She talks about an individual person who feels lost and frozen, and then she says, "Let the light break through, you don't need to stay broken, break this chain of pain." And then she moves from the individual to the collective when she says, "We melt with Kali's dance, hearing voices, we could join forces." Kali is the Hindu goddess of death, so Tori is saying that we can break this deathly chain by banding together. Each of us, to one degree or another, is experiencing this drowning feeling because of what we've been going through collectively in the world for the last couple years. And I think that's the idea of the title of the album. If the ocean is something that you drown in and something that manifests your grief, then it's something that's spread around the world. But that's also unifying. We can use our shared grief to work towards collective healing. Track number 2 is Speaking with Trees. There it is. Wow, I realized that it's kind of odd that this song made me smile because it is mournful, but it's also very optimistic and it feels very motivating. As much as it's a song about loss, it's also a song about hope and celebration. The lyrics are fairly sparse, especially compared to a lot of Tori's older work, so they can pretty easily be split into two categories: lyrics about trees and lyrics about grief, which then raises the question, what's the connection between those two things? First, there's this ecological idea that Tori feels comfort in her connection to nature. And second, there's something about family or home. On the chorus, she says to this person she's lost, "I've hidden your ashes under the tree house and you will be safe there." When I hear tree in this context, I think family tree, and add a house to it, that's a family home. So I think what Tori's getting at is the way that building a family and a home can carry on the memories of those she's lost, those who came before her and those who came before them, and so on. And if you want to tie it back to the ecological idea, then you can imagine this lineage as a sort of infinite regress that you can trace back to nature. So again, these feelings of connection both to her family and to nature bring her comfort when she's experiencing loss. Track number 3 is Devil's Bane.
Shot of tequila, I keep walking. Yes, I have drunk from that devil's bane. Barely good, I'm with my life. Shine, shine, he's screaming at me. Shot of tequila, wash me clean from his sermons and conspiracies. All the while he's preaching.
Yes.
Jezebel buried. Next train when it comes again, if it's filled with lies and corruption, your soul he's seeking. All the while he's preaching.
Wow. Nice. Okay. Yeah, bringing back some of the Western vibes from Scarlet's Walk for sure, which is interesting because this album takes place, or at least was created, not in the US, but in the UK. And while the instrumentation and songwriting are pretty similar to where they were a couple decades ago, Tori's voice definitely has changed. It has a little bit of a softer edge and a lighter tone to it, and I think it sounds really beautiful here. As far as I can tell, the song is pretty unambiguously about alcoholism, and I kid you not, as I'm looking at the lyrics online, I got a banner ad for a drug and alcohol rehab facility, so I guess even my browser knew what the song was about. I didn't mention this before because I wasn't sure how it would fit in, but on the opener, Tori talked about drinking rum punch as she performed Kali's dance, as in the dance of death, and here she refers to tequila, or to alcohol in general, as that devil's bane, the devil's poison. So the song is not very subtle about how Tori views alcohol. Later she says, "Shot of tequila washed me clean from his sermons and conspiracies. He was good at turning me against me." So Tori's voice on this song is a woman whose experiences with misogyny, particularly in the context of religion, have driven her to abuse alcohol, which of course she places opposite from religion by associating it with the devil. So we've zoomed in on this type of woman who Tori set up on the opener, one who's drowning in this universal form of suffering, but who can be healed. And the lighting is changing, so I'm going to do this. Did that help? I think it helped. Track number 4 is Swim to New York State.
I'd swim to New York State from the Cornish coast of England. You'll say it hurt too much to stay, and so you left the Cornish coast of England. I will say that is when I had to face life just wasn't the same. There's a rock pool we can dive in, and that now I understand.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that was so beautiful and so climactic. I love the strings. I love Tori's vocals on this song. That to me feels like it occupies a similar place to a song like Northern Lad. The song on its own is pretty simple, but it connects back to Ocean in a way that I think is really interesting and expands the idea of the title of the album. So Tori is talking about her love for this person, it sounds like an ex, who now lives an ocean away from her. She says that they gave so much to her and she didn't give that back, and now she wishes that she could make up for it and exert all of this effort and swim back to them. It's hyperbolic in a similar way to a song like, again, A Thousand Oceans. And so now an ocean isn't just an image of grief or of generalized suffering, but also a dividing force. She and her lost love are, of course, literally an ocean apart, but now the ocean itself as an image has also taken on this divisive quality, just like the divided light from the opening track. So the world is filled with these divisions and these types of suffering that now, in a post-panoramic world, Tori is concerned with fixing. Track number 5 is Spies. Okay.
Knowing this may help you make it through the night on lullabies. Open up your eyes, spies. Tracking the thieving meanies below and around. You see an art for underground. It seems he's just a well-dressed fella in a cafe stalking scary man, spotting a flying saucer hovering above me. The hippopotamus must stay anonymous for now.
That was a good rhyme.
Mrs. Krabby Apple won't get custard, won't get crumble. Help you close your eyes, get some shut-eye.
Okay, that was definitely one of Tori's strangest songs that I've heard so far, but the instrumental was somewhere, I feel like, between the Postal Service and Imogen Heap, but with these lyrics that were fanciful in the vein of some of the weirder tracks from Boys for Pele. Also, that rhyme of anonymous with hippopotamus is solid. So I think the idea of this song and of the Spies is that there are people in this world who are trying to protect each other and to do good. She says the spies are in a cafe stalking scary men, spotting a flying saucer hovering above Big Ben. It's pretty telling that even today, Tori's stand-in for evil is scary men, and that she immediately pairs them with literal space aliens. It's very much like the ominous he from Devil's Bane versus the drowning woman from Edition of Light Divided. It might be a little bit too vague to pin down exactly, but the song feels to me like the sort of things that she would tell her daughter, you know, as a sort of bedtime story as she is growing up and learning what it's like to be a woman in the world. Because as far as the messaging in her early music that I've listened to goes, you could imagine the world as populated by, like, Father Lucifer and the man from Me and a Gun. So now it feels like Tori is sort of walking that back a bit and saying, actually, there are people in the world who are interceding and trying to make things right, whether you can see them or not. Track number 6 is the title track, Ocean to Ocean.
Ocean to ocean, tales of the sea. Stay with me until we unravel this fishing net. Warning of these needless killings. There are those who don't give a goddamn
Nice. Okay, yeah. Pretty unambiguously another song about the environment here, and the ocean to ocean idea again takes on another meaning. So, because the ocean is something that covers most of the world, it's not just something that symbolizes global suffering, but also a literal threat to human existence, climate change. She says very straightforwardly on the chorus that people don't care that we're near mass extinction. And why not? Because of the profit that they're making. And this isn't a new take, but that's because it's not a new problem. In typical Tori fashion, she feminizes the ocean, who is warning of these needless killings, and she says, "Stay with me until we unravel this fishing net." These parallels between mass extinction, mass killing, and fishing give me this image in my head of a fisher who embodies corporate greed and who is just culling humanity and treating us as disposable. So we're getting this array of social problems from addiction to misogyny to climate change, all with this underlying call to unify against them. Track number 7 is Flowers Burn to Gold.
We hear only you. I scan the skies. Someone said they thought they saw you there through a cloud in the Midwest. Death is not the end. Flowers burn to gold. Someone prayed you were there for them once again, like a miracle angel. Now I know all of it's true by the way you were described. She has the kindest eyes.
Wow. Interesting. This song definitely has the most cryptic lyrics on the album so far. I'm sort of torn between interpreting this song in an optimistic way and a pessimistic way. And partly because this song takes place in America. She says on the chorus, "Someone said they thought they saw you there through a cloud in the Midwest." And then on the second verse she says, "You told me once, gardens, yes, they know death is not the end, and flowers burn to gold." The mention of the garden makes me think of the Garden of Eden and the way that a person in the Midwest, or just a person living a normal American life struggling to make ends meet, might look to the Eden-esque promise of the American dream for hope. And specifically in a religious context, they might cling to this puritanical idea that the reward for suffering or being economically oppressed in life is a heavenly afterlife. And building off of that, the mention of gold makes me think of the song Gold Dust from Scarlet's Walk, where gold represented the fragility of the American way of life. So the flower burning to gold makes me think of a sort of light at the end of the tunnel, the idea that something can die and still live on in peace. So is Tori actually connecting back to her upbringing in America and the promises that she was fed as an American? But Tori ends the song by saying that she now believes in these promises, and I don't think they're specifically American promises, but the promise of optimism and hope. The idea that after experiencing mass death and collective grief, we can still move on and make the world better. So we'll see where this goes on track number 8, Metal, Water, Wood. Ooh, nice.
You found me, burning, burning in despair.
Huh.
It has been a brutal year.
You can say that again.
Take these shattered dreams of mine, wash them away with the tide. Pull it racing down, pull it racing down. Tell me
Nice. I love the percussion on that song. It introduced some variety and made the album feel even more dynamic. Tori has been looking at all of these immense social problems head on, and on the last song she felt pretty optimistic, but now she's sort of reaching a breaking point. She says, "Take my shattered dreams, wash them away with the tide." If the last song was about hope and maybe even the American dream, then this song is Tori experiencing a tidal wave of disillusionment after a pretty bad year. You get it? Someone tells Tori to be like water and to line that horizon up like the captain does with his instruments, but she doesn't feel like she has that level of power and control. Of course, this song is a moment where Tori feels weak, but it also supports the idea that she set up at the beginning of the album that we can cure these social ills together. She as one person feels powerless, but maybe collectively we're not. Track number 9 is 29 Years. Interesting.
How does this happen? For 29 years, I've been searching for you. Please tell it bits of me. I've been piecing for 29 years.
I'm loving this instrumentation.
Just like night, oh, reach almost deep. Right tide, ready to drown my pain. 29 years, you almost elusive truth. Please tell it bits of me. Walk with me in your bare feet, in the shoes we can heal with forgiveness.
Yes.
We can unlash ourselves from that nest after 29 years.
Wow, that was definitely a standout. The instrumentation was just awesome. It almost sounded like it was influenced by like ska and a little bit of breakbeat, but it's propulsive in a way that perfectly matches the lyrics because this is a moment of significant emotional revelations for Tori. For reference, it's been 29 years since Tori released Little Earthquakes, so at least in part, she's looking back on her solo career and asking if she's done what she set out to do. An important moment comes towards the end of the song when Tori says, "These victim tears, a song from my past, to 29 years, yes, we are free at last, we can unleash ourselves from that mast." This ties back to the captain from Metal Water Wood because being tied to the mast of a ship is, or at least was, a way that sailors were punished. And the song from her past, I would assume, if it doesn't refer to Little Earthquakes in general, is Me and a Gun, which is about how she herself was victimized. So Tori has decided to relieve herself of that victim status and, after almost 3 decades, to move on. She also gives these stories of women hurting and betraying each other, specifically from mythology, and talks about this witch who wanted to drown her marriage. My theory about the witch is that she represents a part of Tori, this fear and suspicion of men brought about by her trauma that might have affected her relationship with her husband. So she says we can heal with forgiveness on a personal level, and I imagine on a global level as well. Track 10 is How Glass is Made.
Bottle green, my favorite job. I used to keep my questions in. Do you know how glass is made? In a year of earthquakes and blues, aftershocks.
Yep.
We learned how glass can break. As I said, I did not mean them. The demons in my head. I learned to let go. 29
Nice. I'm really enjoying the instrumentals on a lot of these songs. This song in particular had that nice combination of chamber and rock instrumentation. It was very cool. And the song picks up directly where the last left off, with Tori saying, "In a year of earthquakes and those aftershocks, we learned how glass can break." And I think the year that she refers to could be 1992, the year that she released Little Earthquakes, or 2020, a year of catastrophes and changes. If this is 1992, then Tori learned how one horrible event can reverberate throughout her life. Specifically, she says, "The things I said, I did not mean them. There were demons in my head blowing out of proportion the thing you said." Just like she suggested on the last song, her suffering adversely affected her relationships. If this is about 2020, then the isolation that we experienced probably has a similar alienating effect. And, maybe that confinement shook things up in her relationships a bit as well. So the mention of demons might be like the witch from the last song, or like the devil from Devil's Bane, as in turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms like alcohol abuse in order to handle situations that are so overwhelming and traumatizing. But earlier on the album, she referred to grief not only as drowning, but also as burning, just like the image of flowers burning into gold. And that connects to this song because the way that glass is made is that it burns. So while this burning, these struggles, and this grief can cause things to shatter, it can also cause them to become stronger and to turn to gold. So there is a way to turn that pain into something productive. The final track, track number 11, is Birthday Baby.
This year you survived through it all. Now he's in perfect step on her new dance floor. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Sometimes in life, a girl must tango alone.
I love the tango influence in this song. It's so cool.
It was not enough that he left. He had to slash your confidence. You don't need a party for a party dress. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Bring those killer hits with you. What if you find you like to tango alone? Birthday, baby.
And that is how the album ends. It ends with us dancing not Kali's dance of death, but a dance celebrating life. Tori saying, "You've made it through this year, so celebrate that. You have been hurt, there have been people and situations that have tried to take away your joy, but you made it through, so you should consider it a rebirth." And as usual, there are these layers that Tori is stacking, like the panoramic, her own personal pain, and this sort of ladies' night where this woman is getting ready to go out newly single. But with these ideas of unification and support that Tori's been talking about, it's interesting that she ends the album by asking, "So what if you find you like to tango alone?" But I guess that's the nuance. When it comes to our pain, either collective or personal, we can and should lean on each other, but ultimately change needs to come from inside each of us individually. Overall, I really enjoyed this album. It's definitely simpler and more direct than a lot of Tori's other work, but I think that simplicity makes it a bit more therapeutic. It's like she's telling us directly, almost like a counselor, what we need to hear in this time of pain. I think my favorite tracks in order are Edition of Light Divided, Speaking with Trees, Swim to New York State, 29 Years, and Birthday Baby. I love that Tori has retained her distinctive songwriting voice as her perspective has evolved, and I am so excited that I got to experience a Tori Amos album rollout in real time as a new fan. So thank you for joining me and listening to this album. As always, let me know in the comments what music I should react to next, and what other topics you'd like to see me cover on my channel. Check the description for those donation links. Please subscribe to be here when I post new videos. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're staying safe and healthy. Have a happy and safe Halloween, and until next time, that's it.